Welcome back. The show is Wake Up Sierra Leone, and coming up in the show this morning, women organizations blame government and parliament for the uncommitment to promote women's empowerment after parliament removed the 30% safe seats in the public elections Act 2022. We shall be discussing their concerns, and we shall also be discussing the appointment of AIG William Fayaselu as Inspector General of Police and Alpha Kanu, former Information and Communications Minister under former President Ernest Bai Koroma, as presidential spokesman for President Bill. Now, our quote for today says, "This is quite a game, politics. There are no permanent enemies and no permanent friends, only permanent interest." And it comes from William Clay, an American politician. And of course, with that, we have to go straight into our very first conversation this morning. But remember, you can always be part of the conversations here. Share your thoughts, ask your questions on our AY Sierra Leone Facebook page. We would find time to go through some of them. President Dr. Julius Maada Bio last week fired the country's Inspector General of Police, Michael Ambrose Sovula, and replaced with AIG William Fayaselu as the country's new Inspector General of Police. He also appointed Alhaji Alpha Kanu, former Minister of Information. He also served as Minister of Mines and Minerals. He also served as Political Affairs Minister under the former President Ernest Bai Koroma, and one of the heavyweights of the APC when he was there as Publicity Secretary of the party. To help us unpack the conversation this morning, we've been joined by Alfred Minkailu Koroma, a member of the APC. And Alfred, good morning and welcome to
Good morning, Samuel Wise.
From the Strategic Communications Unit at the Ministry of Information and Communications, Imran Silla. Good morning, Imran, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Grateful as always for the opportunity.
All right, and in our studio too, we have Haji Marcos Bangura, Executive Director for Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. Marcos, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, let's start off. I'm going to start off with you, Imran, for obvious reasons. The fact that, many called for the sacking of the former Inspector General of Police because they thought he was carrying himself in a way that did not match the office, in a way that did not put Sierra Leone and its security in a status that many would admire and feel protected. And the president eventually fired him. And first off, was that as a result of people's call for him to be fired, or was it just at the behest of the president?
Interesting you talk about people's call. Anyway, you know, it's I'll just like to give some sequence.
Go ahead.
So we know that the late President Ahmed Tijan Kaba appointed Acha Kamara as IG, and Acha was inherited by Ernest Bai Koroma, and he later appointed Munu and Moibe. So President Bill inherited Moibe and appointed Sovula later on. So for me, I think it shows that the office of the Inspector General has been largely stable over time, two successive and one before now and this. And so, and there's a reason for that.
Which is?
It shows a fair amount of independence. It shows that, yes, the president can make those changes, but then those changes don't come as in cabinet positions where the turnover is a lot more than the office of the Inspector General. So, I mean, His Excellency the President had to make that decision because, and it might interest you to note, and the public too, I had a private conversation with him, I think about 72 hours, right, before he was asked to go and Fayaselu was replaced. And he gave me the impression as if his time was up in the police by virtue of his age, yeah, nothing else. He was getting there in terms of retirement age. He didn't say exactly when, so I wasn't particularly surprised after having had those conversations with him prior to the appointment of Fayaselu. Probably he was trying to tell me that it was only a matter of days before he get to that retirement age. And
was the engagement, I mean, you're talking about the 72, I mean, the engagement you had with him 22 hours prior to his sacking. Are you referring to where he was told to actually show a simple courtesy as ethics demands by the Minister of Information?
No, so that was it was a private and privileged conversation. Okay. So he didn't exactly say it in the way I'm saying it, but the impression I had was he was getting close to retirement, and
was
it
he
was
tired?
only a matter of time.
Did you read that from your conversation? Was he tired?
No, I think it had more to do with his age. And what's the requirement?
So his physics
in terms of retirement for the police, and so I think that is what he was trying to convey to me. I mean, we spoke at length for about 10 to 15 minutes, and so I wasn't surprised. He didn't particularly say when he was going to go, but he gave me the impression as if he had reached retirement, and it was only a matter of time.
How would you describe his service to the nation?
Look, it is not for me. I think he did what he was able to do to the best of his abilities. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. Right. IG Sovula, former IG Sovula, is one that went through the ranks, right, to the police, hardcore from constable to something else, and then moved up. I mean, it shows he was diligent in his service, in his work, was able to take instructions from his bosses then, and served to the best of his ability. And so he was appointed Inspector General, and that is never going to last for a lifetime. You know, once you get to retirement, as is the requirement, is it 60 or 65, then you should be leaving the office. And I don't think it came as a surprise to him. Others might want to smell blood where there is none and begin to look at those conspiracy theories. That's normal and natural in this thing called politics and in political and public service. But I'd like to think that we're grateful for his time as Inspector General, for his service to this country, right, so for over 20, 25, 30 years, if not more. And I think it shows that there's something for others to learn from, right, in the police force in terms of dedication, commitment, and service, right, because that is what took him to the top.
And he exhibited all of those qualities.
Look, he had his weaknesses,
right,
and that is the tiger need not proclaim his tigritude. I don't get to make an assessment of myself in this role that I'm serving currently. Others would come to those conclusions, and you know, there might be my strengths. There's also going to be my weaknesses. Right. If people take advantage of my weaknesses, then so be it. But I think it is also right and proper that we give credit and acknowledge, right, his length of service in the police force that got him to be Inspector General of Police eventually. All
right, so let me quickly bring in, Minkailu. Minkailu, what do you make of the replacement of former IG Sovula?
I wish to start by commending him for his service to the nation. You know, he spent a number of years in the police force. I had the privilege to interact with him when he was the head of the traffic division. Right. You know, then we were having problems with the traffic regarding our bosses back at the university. So he was always there to provide the required assistance. But however, his sacking was long overdue. He was supposed to go. You know, the issues surrounding him are far too many. You know, it also begs the question, what warranted the sacking? We are yet to get any official correspondence from State House as to what led to the sacking of the IGP, and that is what we are looking forward to. You know, you may recall that under his tenure, he was appointed in March 2020. He served for slightly above 2 years, like 2.5 years. You know, under his tenure or under his watch, a lot of things did happen. We saw indiscriminate killings by agents of the state. He was never brought to book. Under his watch, we saw the massacre of a whole Pademba Road prisons. He was never brought to book. Now, not until after it was rumored that there was a certain mysterious container that was actually allegedly carrying ammunition, drugs, and money. 48 hours later, we saw a report in which this container was being offloaded. It was said the container was carrying frozen chicken and sausages. And then we also saw an argument between the Minister of Information Mohamed Rahman Swari, and the IGP. You know, it was, I mean, not expected to be shown because I saw the minister saying he doesn't want to be under the camera. But before he could actually put a stop to that, there was already an altercation.
Right.
The Inspector General of Police expressed his dissatisfaction that he was expecting the minister to have called him privately, and that the minister was also very aggrieved because journalists were prevented from accessing a certain place where the press conference was supposed to be held. So immediately after that, we saw his sacking. So the government must come out clean and explain to us what actually led to the sacking of the IGP. If IGP was to have been sacked, it would have been done before now.
Has that ever been the practice where a president fires and gives reasons?
That is the duty of the president to hire and fire. It is his right.
Right.
But in some circumstances, when the sacking itself is mysterious in the sense, like what's happened recently in this country, it is also the responsibility of the president through State House to communicate to the citizens of this country as to why the sacking of the IGP. Remember, I just told you a lot of things happen, and we are all expecting his firing, but he was never sacked.
But Imran just mentioned that he had a chat with him, and for him, what he took out of the previous conversation they had is the man was 60 already, which is retirement age. So he should leave public office.
How old was he when he was appointed IGP? In terms of age, that is long overdue. In fact, most people in this country, we are not expecting Sovula to have been appointed as IGP. Now, he rightly did say after Achak Kamara, we had other people, we had Munu.
Yes.
Yeah. After Munu, we have Richard Moribe. Everybody was, most Sierra Leoneans were looking forward to the appointment of FUK Dabo. Yeah. But Dabo was not appointed, and the excuse was that Dabo was already overdue because of his age. You know, he was a professional police. Everybody was looking forward to him to have replaced Richard Moribe. But Sovula was appointed instead. And when Sovula was appointed, you know, just last night I was reading some of the promises he made to this country, to the people of this country. Sovula did promise that he was not coming to involve in politics. He will not allow anybody to use him as a political tool. He also did advise members of the police force not to be used and not to involve in any thing of a sort.
Right.
And that anyone that was suspected to have involved in such tendencies, according to what he stated, that person would face the full penalty of the law. But unfortunately, however, we saw Sovula rub skinning with politicians. He was already a politician rather than a policeman that was to have provided.
He was the Inspector General of Police. Like all other Inspector General of Police that I have seen over time, for example, where the biggest office goes in terms of functions, we've always seen the Inspector Generals around policing the biggest office. So is that what you mean by rub skinning with politicians?
No, that is not what I mean.
What are you saying?
No. Now, let us understand this.
Go ahead.
When you go to the Police Act number 7 of 1964, the role of the police is clearly being established. Their responsibility is to enforce law and to also investigate. That is the responsibility of the police. They are being supervised by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which is responsible for state security. So the police has got a defined role. It is their responsibility to provide security for agents of the state, including government officials and private citizens. That is clearly the case. But in this case, we've seen Sovula going beyond his mandate as a police officer to involve in some things that are regarded to be political. Even in the area of law enforcement and investigation, the law is being enforced to favor certain people who are only members of the SLPP. We've seen that in many circumstances. We've seen the police being, you know, very hard on civilians in other parts of the country, but the same cannot be said in the stronghold of the SLPP. When youth went to bomb police station and carted away with motorbikes and, attacked the police station, they did a lot of bad things. The police was never too hard on them. When youth demonstrated in McKinney to have prevented the people that went to take the transformer, you know, some of them were actually, we know the story. I don't want to go to that to remind people. We know what happened. We saw what happened in Tumbo, in Losar, in other places. the police is being selective in dispensing their mandates under Sovula.
And many would tell you this is not unique to Sovula's administration.
It is very
unique.
It is very unique.
Over time.
It is very unique to the administration of Sovula, as far as I am concerned. But we are expecting much from William Fayaselu.
Okay,
he has been around for a very long time.
We'll come to whether or not he brings changes. Yes.
A few fallacies I'd like to point out.
Please.
Number one, when Ernest Bai Koroma inherited Achakamara and later appointed Munu and Moigbe, I don't think there was ever a statement from the office of the president then stating why Acha was replaced by Munu and why Munu was later replaced by Moigbe. Yeah? There was no statement, right? Because it is provided for in the Constitution, right, that the president has the powers to make those appointments. And in the previous administration, that was done with no explanation given, and that was never an issue at all. But
does that justify the need that Sierra Leoneans look forward, especially looking at what many people are now attributing the sacking to, the mysterious container?
So, I mean, two things. Number one, I think it is not the norm. So, for example, if you were to replace the Chief of Defense Staff in the Army or head of the Army, right, you're not required to give an explanation. Right. Those are very sensitive positions that have security implications. I mean, except if there are clear reasons that someone was involved in corruption or malpractice, right, or trying to cause instability in the state, then that would be something else. Right? That's not where we have been, right, for 3, 4, 5 appointments now as Inspector General of Police. And I think the norm, the pattern, the tradition has to continue, right? President can make those appointments. They do not need to give any explanations. And that is what His Excellency, the President, retired Brigadier General Madabio, has done in this instance. On the second side to his argument, I think he's been selective. Selective in terms of the instances he remembers very well as to what happened in Makeni, what happened in Lonsa, what happened in Tombo. Look, again, I see some insinuations, playing the tribal card, talking about strongholds. I mean, I'm sure it's just a slight hint.
How is stronghold
No. I'm sure it's just a slight hint with regards to, I mean, the tribal thing that both him and his party have been peddling, right, at the highest point, right, for the longest time. And here's the danger, right, about the characterization he's trying to peddle here this morning. It is one thing to talk about strongholds and tribe, It's another thing when election come, right, in 2023, that for those in that particular tribe, the Mendes particularly, they'll be thinking about two things, They'll be thinking about the elections in 2023. They'll also be thinking about their safety and security after those elections. Because we have seen, from Sabura Kamara, right, to Yvonne Akisaya and all the rest of it.
I don't want us to skew the
conversation. I'm not skewing it. These are legitimate things we have to let the people understand. And I think it's about time we backtrack. There are no, I mean, look, everywhere is a stronghold for every political party. All you need to do is to go out and campaign.
Let me draw you back to the conversation. I don't want us to skew the conversation.
Just a final point. In Makeni in 2018, SLPP retired Brigadier Julius Madabio had about 18,000 votes in Makeni. In the runoff 2 weeks later, he had 22,000 votes. So don't play the tribal and stronghold card because it doesn't work in this society.
I would have loved to.
I want to respond to certain things, please.
Quickly in a minute, because I need to.
Firstly, he's talking about fallacies, and I think that is actually not in place. I have not said an explanation was provided for the replacement of Acha or whosoever, but I said when your replacement is surrounded by some misses, when there is to be an explanation to the people, it is the responsibility of State House to come out clean and explain to the people as to why the replacement was sacking. So that is no fallacy. Let us just be clear. Secondly, I have not mentioned any tribe in this discussion. I did cite instances, when Ambrose Sovula was IGP, things that occurred during his watch as IGP that were not adequately addressed. I have not mentioned tribe. I am somebody that is actually against tribal sentiment or whatever has got to do with tribalism.
That is not what your party is suggesting.
But let me also correct you. Political parties are also known for having their strongholds. And this is not only limited to Sierra Leone. All over the world, you have states in America that are Republican states, you have states that are Democrat states. It can be said for other political parties in other parts of the world. This is not only unique to Sierra Leone. So to tell me stronghold does not count. It does count.
My point is,
gentlemen,
must not
my point is,
now, Imran, let me land.
My point is,
let us allow the process to be properly moderated. Samura Kamara or the APC, insofar as tribalism is concerned, has got no connection with the subjects of discussion. So please let us take
that's the insinuation you're making this morning.
Okay,
it has got no
let me just quickly move to our studio 2 where we have Alhaji Marcos Bangura. Marcos, I could still recall we had you here when you made that call for Abu Sovula to be fired because you felt, I mean, he was incompetent, he was very unprofessional, and the things that have happened under his watch I mean, did not make him any good leader. And now he's been fired by the president. First off, does that bring any self-relief to you, saying, oh, wait, I think the president or the government is the listening one. They've listened to the call.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am very happy that the IGP, former IGP, Sovula, has been sacked or retired. In whatever way, what is important, he has been replaced. On the 21st of June, I came out with a press release in which I asked the government, or I asked Sovula himself to resign and the government to dismiss him where he failed to do so. This is as a result of a lot of reservations that I have experienced and I've got over the years, especially under his administration. And even before his administration, other Inspector General of Police, Inspectors General of Police did not actually perform the way we are expecting them. But what is important is the fact that we should not be repeating the same things all the time, especially when this present government came by divine authority because of the fact that there was this aspect of change, right? A new direction. So as a result of that, that's why I believe there was a divine intervention on that, which is to say that we should not be doing the things we used to do before. So irrespective of the fact that in the past we've experienced a lot of anomalies, and that is not to say that if we have a new government or we have a new individual occupying an enviable position, that person should continue to do what others have been doing. I don't believe in the cyclical view of history. I believe in the progressive side of history, that history should be progressive and not recycled. So as a result of that, we came out with so many factors because, of course, he was appointed in March 2020. I stated it in my press release. And he has been fired now. But again, the government has a responsibility because of the circumstances under which he has been fired or retired, because his sacking or retirement has left many tongues wagging.
Are we attributing his sacking to the issue that happened with the container that was alleged to have carried arms and ammunition and drugs? Is that what we're attributing his sacking to?
The onus of attributing it is in the hands of the government, because the president himself
just said, of course,
no,
it's a constitutional duty of the president to hire and fire. He doesn't need to give.
Yes, what I'm trying
to say. The Constitution makes it very clear that his decisions should not be inquired into. So he does not need to give reasons.
No, what I'm trying to, this is what I've been repeating, and this is the mistake most of you have been doing all the time, right? Because you always say because certain things have happened before, it should be repeated. And now, I am a good governance expert, and my focus is in good governance. And one of the features or characteristics of good governance is accountability and transparency, right? And you will agree with me that many factors were advanced as to why the former government was defeated in the last elections, right? So, and we all know the placard that this government used, you know, for which the people of Sierra Leone decided to vote this government to power, right? It is the aspect of a new direction, wherein we should, you know, keep away from the ugly things that happened in the past. Of course, previous presidents or governments have not actually given reasons as to why the Inspector General of Police or other officials, you know, that occupied enviable positions have been sacked. But that is not to say we should continue with that. We also have to look at the circumstances of the time, right, as to why the Inspector General of Police himself was actually sacked or retired, right? There was this crisis of a mysterious, I call it magical container, right? And because of this, just few days after that, because the incident occurred on Friday, and there was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, right, the container itself was opened. And just 1 or 2 days after, the Inspector General of Police was fired. So as a result of that, it will tempt somebody to think that his sacking came as a result of that. And again, one can also think that the sacking of him is as a result of his age. And for the mere fact that Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability advanced reasons as to why, in fact, he should be sacked, and if the president has gone to the extent of sacking him or taking him to retirement, I think I want to commend the president himself again for the mere fact that he listened to C4D, whether that is, he can accept it as it is, but I hold the view that majority of Sierra Leoneans can actually dance to the tune of that music played by Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability for asking for the resignation of the Inspector General of Police. Now, we cannot...
Can I quickly ask this question?
Yes.
The fact that, are we not being unfair on IG Sovula in the sense that we expect the police to be independent, but by default, the force itself is political, in the sense that we have the Police Act, you have the council that is headed by the presidency, should I say, and you have the internal affairs minister there. So in essence, the force legally is politicized. So how would you expect whoever heads that particular institution to be independent and work in the interest of the country or the public? Is it by morals when legally, I mean, they have to take orders by politicians?
I want to categorically say that the IG is the head of the police. And those instruments you are calling describes the functions of the police. And by virtue of the fact that it describes the virtue of the police, and being that an individual has been appointed to that enviable position, that individual has a responsibility. I've always said that if I'm appointed in a particular position, and if I think that I'm not safe in that position, I will resign. As it is now, I have already identified certain positions in the future if I'm appointed, because I will not want a situation wherein I will be regulated like a political lantern and I gesticulate to the regulations. Done, you understand? Because at the end of the day, ugly fingers will be pointed at you. IG himself, upon his appointment, made a lot of promises, right? The issue of enabling the police, right? He said he was, after his appointment, he made it categorically clear that he will ensure that the police remain independent. He will upgrade or uplift the police. He said that the police will no longer be the police that used to be before his appointment, which is to say that the police were at a very, very bad ebb. So being appointed in that position, and if anything happened, then we can level criticisms against him, or we can point ugly fingers against him, because it was under his watch that huge lots of ugly things happened. It was under his watch that we experienced gross human rights violations, right? So as a result of that, that is why after my letter, after my press release, right, a lot of people, right, applauds me for calling on the resignation of the Inspector General of Police. I know that the police has a lot of functions. There are two major functions the police perform, right? That is the maintenance of law and order, right? And these two are predicated in a huge lot of functions. So as a result of that, being appointed, you are the IGP plays a supervisory role, and the IGP makes appointments. The IGP, in fact, deploy police officers. The IGP is responsible for the training of police officers. So as a result of that, he has a responsibility, despite the fact that we have the police council, right? The police council is there. And as a result of that, you should be aware of the fact that the police council is comprised of politicians. And being that you've been appointed in that position, you have to stand tall to ensure that you are not regulated. As I mentioned, as a political lantern, he allowed himself to be regulated, and he gesticulated to the strings that we are regulated. So at the end of the day, what happens? Ugly fingers have been pointed against him. So he's sacking, right? Whether he was sacked because of his age.
We live in a society that many political pundits have advanced arguments that appointments are based on competence and not competence. So if that is anything to go by, do you see a change in practice at all, especially now with the appointment of Fayaselu as the Inspector General of Police?
To some extent, it is visible that he has been fired and another person has been appointed in that capacity, right? So by that, we can say it's a change, right? But again, as you mentioned, and most times appointments are done not merely by competence, either by nepotism, favoritism, or just because you think you are comfortable with that individual. If you can remember, even the president once said that he cannot appoint somebody that he doesn't know. You understand? So once he knows you and he believes that he's comfortable, he can appoint you. And that notwithstanding,
knowing you could be in the context of, I know you can deliver, I know you can perform.
What is important is appointments should be done on merit,
right.
Meritocracy, right? If you look at the appointment of Sovula himself, right? We had a lot of ASP officers, right? And he was almost around 27.
Let's quickly talk about
yet he was appointed.
The coming in of Fayaselu. We have to also talk about Alhaji Alpha Kanu. Yes. The coming in of Fayaselu as IG.
In as much as a new man has been appointed in that enviable position, we are looking forward to see him work professionally, to ensure that he did not use tribe, to ensure that he did not use he did not allow himself not to be regulated again as a political lantern, right? Because it is the acts, the police act, right, made it very clear. And even the police disciplinary act also made it very clear by describing the functions of a police officer. And by virtue of the fact that he has been in the police service for some time, for quite too long.
Yeah.
And on the appointment of an IGP, and experience is taken into consideration. And he has served as ADC to late President Amal Chijan Kaba. And he has also served under IGPs, several IGPs, for which I hold the view that he should have got a wealth of experience. So he has a responsibility to ensure that law and order is maintained. He has a responsibility to ensure that there is safety of life and property of individuals in society, and he has a responsibility to ensure that he works assiduously, he redouble his effort and stand tall. Okay. We don't want a situation wherein he begins to perform and make individuals, the heart of individuals, to be wrenching, right? It will be disastrous.
All right.
And again, being that Sierra Leone is a polarized society, no matter how somebody look at it, but the fact is the fact. It's a polarized society, and he should not allow himself to be carried away.
Imran,
but he should work assiduously.
All right, let me come here. Imran, what does Fayaselu bring to the table?
He brings experience. He has served under several IGs since he started out and made a decision to become a police officer. He has been at CID, at head of police stations across Western area, transferred to other parts of the country. So, I mean, like every other individual who ends up being Inspector General of Police, they bring their own experience, their own character, and their own disposition to the office, right? And he understands that he has a responsibility to maintain peace and stability, law and order. And I'm sure his experiences, his character and disposition will inform the kind of approach he's going to take. Now, look, if you go back to Sovula, like Acha Kamara, like Munu, like Moigbe, every single one of those individuals had served the police for over nearly 3 decades or more. Yeah? So that tells you no president makes an appointment to take an inspector to become the Inspector General of Police, 2 button or 3 button for becoming the Inspector General of Police. No, it is based on the years of service and your rank. That is what makes it possible for you, right, to be appointed as Inspector General of Police. And that was the case for Sovula, that was the case for Moigbe, that was the case for Munu, that was the case for Acha Kamara. And it is the same for Fayaselo. I have absolute trust and faith in Fayaselo. I know he's going to dispense his duties to the best of his abilities, right? The jury will be out, definitely, as to where he's coming from, what kind of an Inspector General he's going to be.
Right.
But then again, I don't think that should necessarily influence him. You know, I remember back in 2012, I was one of those who was referring to Munu as APC Munu, right? And it became a popular thing. That was how he was being perceived, right? But he served to the best of his ability until Anes Baikoma then chose to replace him, right? So whatever those criticisms are, right, they should be able to have broad shoulders.
Okay.
Live with it. Do your job. Do it to the best of your ability. And at the end of the day, let us also understand that these positions we hold, not a family inheritance. The family inheritance day, right? That somebody don't left you in a will. Right? These are public positions that you're only going to serve for so long, and ultimately you would have to exit.
Okay.
And that's life.
Menkailu, do you see Fayaselo coming in with the needed change, the force needs, to police Sierra Leone, fairly and independently?
Well, I cannot judge him on that. I cannot comment on his fairness or independence until after his stewardship. But his appointment did not come by surprise. You know,
in what sense?
Yes. This is a man that have had the required apprenticeship. He has served for far too long. In fact, most people were looking forward to his appointment. He has been in the force. He's rumored to be very professional and very diligent. And so that is why much is expected of him. To have also served as Director of Crime Services in the Sierra Leone Police, that is no child's job. You have to be meticulous. You have to be up to the task to occupy such an enviable position. So his appointment did not come by surprise. The only thing is that we are fast approaching elections. And so the job will be very tedious. He's going to be confronted with serious challenges. He has to be up to the task. He has to demonstrate professionalism. He has to also realize that he'll be judged by the content of his character after his stewardship, and will be asked to be accountable. IG Sovula, for example, a lot of things are surrounding him. You see, well, in the law of armed conflict, there is what is known as command responsibility. When a commander gives, instructions to subordinate to carry out certain functions, in some cases, you will not instruct them to shoot at an armless civilian. But being that you are the commander, and when those crimes are committed, no one is brought to book, no inquest, no investigation, just know that there will come a time for accountability. So as a Sierra Leonean, I want to urge, William Fayaselo to be very mindful of that fact, that leaders will be held accountable after their stewardship, and that to deliver professionally. And this goes for all other public officials. Recently, we followed the debate in the U.S. Donald Trump, a whole president, is being investigated for his action and inaction during his stewardship as president, especially for the incident that took place on the 6th of January.
The capital.
Of course.
But let me quickly take you to, let me quickly ask you a question about the appointment of Alhaji Alpha Kanu. Somebody who was one of the big guns in your party, the APC, now seen to have been hired by the current president to propagate his messages, especially leading up to the 2023 elections. Where does that put your thoughts about his appointment?
Yes, it is the right. It is the responsibility, the constitutional mandate of the president to hire and fire. The president can wake up one morning and choose to appoint somebody from the APC or whatever party. It is up to the individual to say, I will not take this appointment for obvious reasons. So it is also the right of Alpha Khan to accept or reject whatever appointment that comes in for him from the president. But the truth of the matter is, you know, Alpha Khan was very instrumental, especially in 2002 to 2007 up to 2012 and 18. He was an MP representing the All People's Congress. He was spokesman for the then flag bearer that became president. He served in many different capacities. Yeah, he's lucky, you know, to have served 2 presidents, or to have been appointed by 2 presidents as presidential spokesman. He's very lucky. Yeah, but that has got no impact on the APC. Our party is intact. Our party is full of materials. Alpha Khan is a retired politician by our estimation. And he must be, you know, relaxing now, taking care of the grandkids.
Is his space being occupied already in the APC? That is
why, in fact, you see Minkailu Kuroma sitting here representing the APC. And there are many more Minkailu Kuromas, yeah, in the APC. We have many more Alpha Khans in the APC. The APC is an institution that trains leaders. So succeeding generation will have the privilege to enjoy the replacement of leaders when they are tired or they are retired. Yeah, so we are not short of people that will represent the APC adequately. I was not expecting, however, Alpha Khan to have even served in any other government.
Why?
I haven't served, no, because of the age, that is one. Secondly, he must be relaxing now, enjoying his retirement. It's somebody that is already tiring, yeah? Okay. So if I was Alpha Khan, I would not have taken any appointment.
All right.
But be it as it may, let me conclude.
Quickly, go ahead.
The APC, we've got no problems with him. It is his right as a Sierra Leonean to accept or reject any appointment.
I know Imran wants to come in, but let me hold you, Imran. Let me quickly bring in Marcos. The appointment of Alhaji Alpha Kanu as presidential spokesman for President Julius Maada Bio, the leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party and flag bearer for the party in the 2023 elections. Where does that put the APC? Alpha Khan occupied very senior and strategic positions in the APC. And I stand to be corrected, he is still a member of the APC.
The appointment of Alpha Khan sounds very, very interesting. And but that is what politics is all about. Politics is dynamic. You know, politics is not static. So as a result of that, the president in his own volition has thought it fit and wise that he will use Alpha Khan to play a very important role for his government, being that elections are coming, and we know that that particular position is a very enviable one, right? But one thing I hold very strongly is the fact that it is the question of trust. I think that is why Alpha Khan was appointed, or he has been appointed in that enviable position. The issue of trust, because under his appointment in the Northeast, right, we've seen 2 major elections lost.
Northwest, yes.
You understand, Northwest. We've seen 2 major elections lost. And there is, I stand to be corrected, I can be criticized on that, or anybody can accept it. But for the mere fact that this man is known to be an individual with an ability, he has been a political spin doctor. He has even said he's a number 6, I want to believe. And we know the role of a number 6 in football, right? And for the mere fact that 2 elections have been lost under his tutelage, and again, it is the question of trust. So I think the government wants to put him in the center forward now. Instead of playing a 6, let him be an attacker, you understand? So that at least if he wants to play a game, right, it will be easy for him to be seen.
So he can,
so that is why he
can actually punch in the goals,
yes,
against the APC for the SLPP.
That is the view of the SLPP for appointing him. So we are yet to experience it.
Is it a way of saying this is very strategic in the sense that Alpha Khan has been in the APC, he understands the APC better, he was one of those implementing the strategies, if not, I mean, creating the strategies of the APC. Now that we're going into the 2023, hey, I think it is but fitting, let's, bring this strategic partner in and see how he can help us demolish, well, the defense of the APC.
I want to say that if I were the president, I could not have appointed Alpha Khan.
Why?
Despite the fact that, yes, he played a very instrumental role during the APC, and he was seen as a magnet of attention during that particular period. Appointing him in that position, to me, I don't think will create that impact? Because first of all, let's look at Alpha Khan within his township. Let's check his popularity within that particular area, you understand? Then we talk about the role of Sierra Leone. The SLPP is a party I have reservoir of respect for. We have individuals there with capacity, right? Individuals that can play that role in a quadruple form than Alpha Khan.
You the CSOs, the media, the politicians, and majority of the population, we've always said we have a gullible population, a gullible society, Sierra Leone. And Alpha Khan's oratory prowess, for many, is unmatched. And in politics, the dynamics of the tongue is what really is key. I mean, if you talk about convincing voters. And that's not what the SLPP sees in Alpha Khan. I mean, he's such a sweet talker. He knows how to talk his way through things and get things done. And that was, besides the major role he played in the APC, to the point that even the former president said, hey, you know what? I think you need to talk for me. Come, please. And he talked and talked to the point that he got the president, the president elect, well, the candidate then elected in the person of Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma. So what's going to be different now?
In the first place, he's a good talker, as you put it, but he had wanted to be a flag bearer for the APC. But his talking did not take him there, right? And that is one thing. And secondly,
many would say that was as a result of a single man's
This is
decision.
politics. This is politics. Now we are discussing politics, right? I'm a historian to some extent, right? And history says that you cannot determine the future if you don't reflect the past, you compare it to the present. I just want to take credence to the past 2 elections.
Quickly.
We know that before this period, it was that powerful. We've seen the likes of Ronaldo. Understand? Ronaldo, the way he was powerful, for now he's fine in clubs. You understand? But it's very difficult for clubs to take him.
And still holding Manchester United to ransom, for example. Because
in whatever way you put it, you understand? But what is important is the fact that Alpha Khan is a good speaker. That I know. But, as I mentioned, if I were the president, I would not have appointed him because there are better people in the SLPP that will perform better than him. Then taking into consideration the 2 elections that he has not created impact on. You know, to put him on the center forward, that's why he says it's the question of trust. Okay. You understand? The SLPP wants to know his loyalty and trust. And as a result of that, that's why I think he's been appointed in that position.
Bring to the presidency at this point? I mean, especially when the person occupying the highest office in the land is the leader of the SLPP, is also the flag bearer of the SLPP for the 2023 elections, and him being appointed to propagate the messages of that leader, of that flag bearer, who now, who is the president of the republic. I mean, what's the dynamics? What do you see?
So, there are several things we need to look at, Samuel. I'm sure you remember in the early periods, there was this characterization of His Excellency the President that he was being tribal. He was being selective. He did not want to bring the country together. There's a need for national peace and cohesion. We need to bring people together. And as far as CDA, Tunis, and others with whom I've had several engagements with, they would be saying that the president is not looking at that. He's very divisive. He wants to pull people apart. And, you know, consistently, some of us said, this president, my president, the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone that I know, right, has the country at heart and would stop at nothing in bringing people together. So forget Alpha Khan for a moment. In the early part of 2018, that was Peter Bayoku, who was from APC to NGC, right, and became a minister. Some of us, in the roles we're playing, right, have been given an opportunity to serve. The president knowing full well that probably we were not there at a certain point in time. But he's looking at bringing the country together and how to bring people together, looking at talents, devoid of party politics, right, devoid of tribal sentiment. So when he went to Cambia, I'm sure that was played out on all the TV and radio stations when he spoke to Alhaji Dr. Kandeh Yumkela, and said, come back home. We need you in the SLPP. We need you to be part of national development. People were saying, oh, now because election they come, now that make their statements and they, no. The president is always looking for every opportunity to bring people together. And so he appointed Alpha Khan.
Is Alpha Khan actually not a political tool at this point?
He appointed Alpha Khan as resident minister Northwest. Yeah? That he has a long-standing relationship with the people of Port Loko district and the Northwest particularly. And therefore, that was the best appointment, right, in the lifespan of this president so far. And the president has done one better by bringing Alpha Khan to be the spokesperson.
Can I quickly hold you down?
What it shows is...
Sorry, with no intent of cutting you short, I'm afraid. It's 9 a.m. in our studios clock. We just quickly have to take a quick commercial break and we'll come right back to you. All right, welcome back. The show is Wake Up Sierra Leone. I still have Imran Sila, Minkailu Kuruma, and Alhaji Marcos Bangura. So, Imran, I was asking, I mean, is this appointment of Alpha Khan you weaponizing Alpha Khan against the APC?
So, look, Alpha Khan is a Sierra Leonean. He's above party politics, just like His Excellency the President. His Excellency the President is always looking to bring people together. Alpha Khan has a special talent, and he brings a lot to the table. I mean, you can understand why the APC are feeling a certain way. It's like the fox and the grapes, eh? When the fox doesn't get the grapes is always sour. So that's understandable. But look, nobody brings the kind of history, context, and perspective to governance and political issues like Alpha Khan, full stop. His Excellency the President has made several appointments since April of 2018. My president has made the best appointments since becoming president of the Republic of Sierra Leone in Alpha Khan. Right? He adds value, he adds character, he brings finesse to the office of the spokesperson for the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone.
Are you trying to destroy the APC? I mean, as a party, let me ask this question. As a party, already we're seeing some members of the APC accusing the SLPP of even influencing, sponsoring the current chair of the ITGC of the APC, Alfred Peter Conte. And now, Alpha Khan, if the first allegation is anything to go by, that you are now, I mean, feeling the crisis in the APC, taking care of Alfred Peter Conte, and now Alpha Khan, whom you've just said, I mean, his qualities are unmatched in politics. So, I mean, when putting things on the table, are you trying to kill the APC?
So I know nothing about what is happening in the APC. I was asking the other day, and Minkailu felt a bit uncomfortable as to whether Alfred Peter Conte was the new chairman and leader like Ernest Bai Kroma had in the past. You know, and he felt a bit irritated. So I'll not go to that again. But here's the point for me. Right? Alpha Khan has never been asked to leave the APC, right? As far as we know, that he has sworn till death to forever be a registered member of the APC party.
He was threatened, I mean, to be expelled if, when the Port Loko by-election was ongoing, that, I mean, if he campaigned for the SLPP candidate, he was going to be expelled. So, that statement...
So that is a subject matter, matter for Minkailu to address.
All right.
The fact of the matter is, Alpha Khan has never been asked to leave the APC. We know he has sworn till death to be a member of the APC political party, and we're fine with that. His Excellency the President, right, is looking beyond party politics. I remember, I think it was the late President Ahmed Tijan Kaba who said, I'm the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. I may have come from a political party. I may have had a party political ticket to become president. Yeah. But once I become president, I'm President of the Republic of Sierra Leone.
Stay with us.
And similarly, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, head of state and president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, sees himself, right, as president, right, devoid of party politics, and so therefore he has a responsibility in bringing this country together, ensuring that there is peace and stability and national cohesion, and making sure that the best talents serve. And that is where Alpha Khan comes in.
All right, let me run through a few messages just quickly, gentlemen, so that I can have your part in short. Albert Lansana is saying, by the way, nothing is wrong with a chief of police fired. In the United States, for example, mayors can fire their chiefs of police when things go wrong on their watch. So if the president fires the former IG, it is because probably things weren't going right under his watch. Another texter here is saying, I'm finding it difficult. The fact is Sovula has been replaced and the president owes no explanation for replacing him. Also note that the president did not replace Sovula because Marcos and his seed 40 asked for it. Didan Sankor, I'm saying, patriots like us do not want to know why the IG was sacked or retired. Just hope this will not be included in your campaign. Grace Yeye Mosori is saying that the president does not have to give a reason for firing the former IG because he chose to appoint the former IG. So to him, he chose to relieve the former IG of his duties without explanation. Suleiman Amadou Yansane Bangura saying, when politician has no message, they relegate themselves to preaching naked tribalism to gain sympathy from the public, and we as the people, we should start frowning at them. Okay, why is this government always hiring old men in the form of IG to lead the police force? This current one seems old and will soon retire. We have able and intelligent young men and women in the force, Eddie Grant is saying, and that, let me just take 3 more messages at most. We have so many of them. Bashir Loksin Mustafa Felawa is saying, Able, I'm not happy with this decision. Aji Sovula was the only source of laughter we have left in this country. Now they have succeeded in removing, okay, I think that's really, politicians mostly appoint people that they have control over because you're coming to serve their interests. Grace is saying, the country needs a female police officer as an IG. We are in the 24th century, for God's sake. Eddie, so many messages, guys. I'm so sorry I can't go through all of them at this point. But just quickly, as we round off the conversation, Minkailu, what's your parting shots?
Yes, I heard him saying Alpha Khan, or you saying Alpha Khan has been APC. Alpha Khan understands the strategies and can undo the APC. I want to make it abundantly clear that Alpha Khan has not been, part of the process insofar the administration of the APC is concerned since after 2018. And the APC, we have also reformed the party. It is not business as usual. Our strategies cannot be constant all of the time, yeah? Strategies may change depending on the surrounding circumstances. So nobody, not even the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, can undo the APC or destroy the APC.
Is he still a member?
Nobody can destroy the APC. So the appointment of Alpha Khan, has also shown that the SLPP lacked materials.
Is he still a member of the APC?
Because I think now I am making a point.
Go ahead, please.
Don't disturb. Like Marcos was saying, is somebody that is expecting the SLPP to have a battery of energetic and able people to have served in those positions. But unfortunately, however, Alpha Khan, an old man, is being appointed. This is why the MP will tell you SO2, Alpha Khan, and Keroziroba. As far as we are concerned, Alpha Khan and Keroziroba now. So he cannot undo the APC, and he has got nothing to do to limit or stop the APC in whatever front. We have the capacity, we have all it takes to take over political governance in this country. Again, Marcos was referring to the 2 elections in the north.
Quickly, please.
I am certain he was referring to the elections in Koya, constituency 073, and that of Samaya Bendugu, constituency 056. Although Alpha Khan is only limited to the northwest, the northern region is being governed by Abu, who is the resident minister, but Alpha Khan is expected to have also garnered some influence over the years to be able to assist the SLPP. But what we've demonstrated is that nobody in that part of the country can stop the APC from winning. Nobody can stop us.
Okay.
We won the elections at Koya, and in Samaya Bendugu, we took the seat from the SLPP. Remember in 2018, the SLPP won that seat, but we are able to actually take it from the SLPP.
All right.
Imran, this is for you. What have you done as a government to address the issue of the doctors? Remember, today is the 1st of August, and they are going on strike. And
it's good you brought it up.
I just read it
it's good you brought it up.
Any response from government?
We will handle that. We are in our subsequent programs.
I hope I get a few minutes.
In our subsequent programs, you have a minute to give me your party shot.
I hope I get a few minutes to talk about the strike. Which we just started
we have other programs lined up to address the strike action. Please go ahead.
Today.
Today.
Okay,
give your party shots. Yes.
I think in the same breath as we're talking about Alpha Khan, there's a name I would like to throw in, and that is JBD. He was regarded as Jambody for Development, JB Dauda. He served several presidents, right? But most importantly, and over and above all that, he served the Republic of Sierra Leone till death. From APC to SLPP to APC to SLPP, he had the good fortune to be called up by heads of state to continue to serve. And I see Alpha Khan right in that same strata, if you like. And it is really the case, and I think he should be applauded for that. Someone who's willing to serve his country regardless of the party that is in power. I think it says a lot about the individual, right? His character, his disposition, his understanding of what the realities are, and understanding that there can only be one president in the Republic of Sierra Leone, and it behoves that president at any given time to make the necessary appointment, and he has done so with Alpha Khan. Right, I'm well pleased in that appointment. I'm excited. I look forward to benefiting a lot from his expertise, his history, his knowledge, and the context that he'll be bringing to these conversations.
Thank you. Marcos, quickly.
Yeah, the president, in his own prerogative, thought it fit and wise that he appoint Alpha Khan. But he sees something in Alpha Khan. That is why he decided to appoint him. And on the side of the IGP, the dismissal and the appointment, we should take into consideration the fact that Sovula was not the only person that was sacked or transferred or moved. Even in the military, some people were moved. You understand? So, and it all happens within a particular circumstance. And somebody said that we should not be giving the appraisal for the sacking or retirement of
Sovula.
Sovula. And others are saying that it's because of his age. But I think I advised him, right, in my press, right, I advised him that he resigns because of age. But he turned blind eyes and deaf ears to that. And I pleaded on to the president to use his constitutional powers and to ensure that he is removed. And in as much as he has been removed, and by virtue of the fact that we made the press release prior to that, so it's either they appraise us or they take it to the container. So it's either side.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Marcos Bagura. Thank you very much, Alfred Mikael Ukuruman. Thank you very much, Imran Sila. It's been a pleasure having all three of you here, gentlemen. I've enjoyed the privilege of your time this morning. Thank you very much.